Went to the cinema. Cried. My grandmother's journal entry upon singing Singing in the Rain for the first time in 1952. Maybe my affection for this movie is genetic. Singing in the Rain was the first film I ever watched sitting in a hard plastic chair in an extremely air-conditioned high school film classroom that made me want to live inside of its world to eat it up. Surely, I thought every single person involved in the making of this film did so with the intent to make people feel the way they do when they read a line of a poem twice. Although privileging spectacle over narrative should result in superficial distraction, Singin' in the Rain powerfully uses dance as a spectacle to subvert the rationality of post-war hyper-capitalistic 1950s America. Attention to the film's foregrounding of bodily movement, individuality, and expressionistic set design revealed the film's cultural impact of inviting immobile spectators, sitting in chairs in a dark theater, to see and vicariously feel the thrill of people dancing with purpose. By analyzing these formal elements within the spectacular Broadway melody sequence, I argue for the movie's initial appeal in providing audiences with a much-needed rebellion against capitalistic rationality. By elevating spectacles of dance over plot development, audiences were pushed to feel and sense a different quality of freedom. In this movie, Gene Kelly choreographs performances to convey freedom of the body and beauty in movement. The body seems free and one can feel this. It transcends materialistic items that were so historically pushed on Americans during this time. Economic historians agree that about half the population, not the poorest and not the wealthiest, enjoyed a substantial rise in their share of real income during and shortly after the Second World War, and that their share remained generally stable from then on. This redistribution to the burgeoning middle class meant an expanded market for homes, cars, appliances, and services, a high-consumption economy. The American economic system was becoming increasingly dependent on high consumption as a means of creating wealth. Now imagine an audience in the 1950s excitedly filing into the cinema to watch a showing of Singin' in the Rain. The Broadway ballet number appears out of a crossfade. Gene Kelly and Sid are completely still on a dreamlike pink, purple, and white set, a beautiful and distant tableau. The only movement is Sid's long white veil flowing in the wind. Then she makes her way towards Kelly. The ballet is framed with an extremely wide angle, letting the audience absorb all the information at once, sometimes tracking the dancer to a medium close-up to get a more intimate portrayal of their love. The wide and mostly eye-level shots illustrate beautiful, creative dance movements full of longing and desire. Both Kelly and Sid are either gesturing towards each other or extending their limbs to the full range of motion throughout the entire dance. Movement is constantly happening throughout the whole Broadway melody sequence, but the Broadway ballet is the quintessential moment in this number. The audience slows down, takes a breath, and lets their eyes explore natural body movements that seem to permeate from the soul. The choreographed synchronized movements, the sense of freedom with the body, and a presentation of a non-rational moment in a rational society provide an escape from freedom of buying in the 1950s. Individuality is an essential element to understand when considering the cultural impact of this film. So when you watch the entire Broadway melody sequence, one forgets the self. Yet we embrace it at the same time. And why is that? Because in this sequence, Don makes it off of his persistence and charisma. Individuality shines through. At the beginning of Broadway Melody, the camera dollies in a wide-angle shot as Don gets rejected by the talent agents of Hollywood wearing his bright yellow ensemble. After each rejection, Don smiles with wide-eyed optimism, does a personal dance, and sings Gotta Dance. Here we see a dance so individualized to the person. A viewer seeing these choreographed, synchronized movements is allowed to feel and sense, to drop the mentality of a collect mind. Here, the charming Hoofer makes it. So lastly, we come to expressionistic set design, and after viewing vibrant sets and vivid costumes in the Broadway melody sequence, the shift to the expressionistic set design of Broadway ballet offers a respite to viewers, reduced stimuli. To go from a portrayal of Hollywood with all of the glitz, the glam, and the fashion to this minimalistic set design offers a calm, and this is where I read into the freedom from capitalism. It is at this moment that Don is the happiest, when he is dancing on what feels like clouds with Sid's character, when he has nothing and is enveloped in the world with her. The pastel-colored equilibrium is present in lavenders, pinks, and whites. At an aesthetic level, the spectacle over the narrative is visually conveyed by the director's use of totally artificial colors. The set isn't rational, it doesn't make sense, but it evokes an emotion and an idea, and here's where audience members can feel rather than understand. Jean and Sid are adrift in a dreamlike world, dancing on what feels like clouds, and in this sense, the set embodies freedom from capitalism. And to conclude, Singin' in the Rain lives on today, and it came at a time when audience members needed it the most. The bombardment of images pushing a new economy was very prevalent in society, and this movie provides a moment of respite from consumerism through elevating dance as a spectacle rather than the narrative. People were finally allowed to sense and feel rather than rationalize.